Off top, female dragonflies play dead to avoid mating. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. We have a return contestant, one of my favorite people, and I think he's still the highest ranked guest on our show. The great Bill Barnwell is joining me and the snack, Charlie Kravitz. What's up, Bill?
This is not a tournament of champions. I'm not back to compete against the absolute best.
No, there's no competition for you. You are the best. You are back. I appreciate it. Welcome back. We're going to be nice to each other this entire episode and agree the whole time because that's what we normally do.
Well, we're going to pick on Charlie.
That's right. This is the setup.
Ah, yeah.
But you can't get me down today. This is Christmas in August. I know we're taping this in July. You'll be hearing this in August because we get to talk about quarterback rankings, which Domonique is going to scowl and pretend he doesn't care about. No, I'm above quarterback rankings. I don't care what tiers these people belong in, but I'm going to be delighted by it. And you're going to be delighted by it. And I know Bill's going to be delighted by it because he gets to make fun of how dumb my rankings were last year on November 30th when we did this same exercise.
I know one of them is really bad.
Put it this way. I feel like we're going to be using those rankings like 100 years from now as like proof of how foolish people were in the 2020s.
Here's the thing, though. I learned something from Domonique Foxworth and Mina Kimes and probably Bill Barnwell, but I don't know if you had the draft takes about it, which is when you get something historically wrong, like the Josh Allen takes, you just say, I wasn't wrong in the moment.
That's not my move. That's not my move. That is not my move. My move is to change because now I'm right. It's fine. Being wrong is okay. It's the coolest thing about being wrong is you don't have to believe it all the time. None of this stuff is religion. Go ahead and change your mind, Charlie. Come up off those trash takes as soon as you can.
So do you want me to start by reading the November 30th, 2023 quarterback tiers?
Let's go.
Yes, please.
Okay. Tier 1. You're quite possibly the worst quarterback in NFL history and might get your franchise contracted.
I forgot how mean these takes were.
That was Zach Wilson. Yeah. He was a one-man tier, and I nailed it.
Gotta say, we're 1 for 1 so far, baby. We're off to a good start.
So mean.
The next tier. You're going to get everyone fired. Coach, GM, quarterback coach, offense coordinator, the team president's son. You better not blow your money, buddy, because you're not getting any more of it. This tier was Desmond Ridder, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, and Jordan Love.
This is where it starts to get bad. Go ahead, Bill.
What was that? I didn't hear that last
Jordan Love.
It was Jordan Love.
That's right.
I mean, to be fair, from that point forward, Jordan Love was like literally the best quarterback in football. So you weren't that far off.
Honestly, he should thank me. That guy went directly into the motivation lobe. He heard our podcast and was like,
I like that as in the brain, there's a specific lobe for athletes where they just put all the hate that's out there. You put it in there. You need it. You got to find it because you know it's us against them.
You know how it is. Like you don't use 90% of your brain. Like that's part of the other 90% is you have that motivation lobe.
Is it up to 90%? They change those all the time. Now we only use 10% of our brain.
Anyway, next tier. Mystery.
No. Pause it. We aren't done with that tier.
Well, we have to get to our 2024 tier. So I have to run through these.
I feel like the flogging was not sufficiently flogged.
Yes.
He is now
Domonique,
one of the richest players in NFL history. He's widely regarded as one of the best young quarterbacks in football. He's one of the guys with the highest ceiling in one of the best situations. And last year, you said he was even going to get the coach's son fired. You know how hard it is to get the owner's son fired. You know how hard it is to get the owner's son fired? It's only happened a couple times. I feel like Jerry Richardson
did. The Packers don't even have an owner. That's true. How hard it'd be to get the owner's son fired.
That means
it was team president. I don't even know if Mark Murphy's son works for the team, but if he did.
By the way, the literal game after these rankings was the win over the Kansas City Chiefs, where Jordan Love played literally the best game I saw a quarterback play all
welcome,
season. So
Packers fans. You are welcome.
I think you're actually well positioned to take the role of you did this to motivate him.
That's right.
Because it immediately happened. He saw this podcast and was like, oh.
I mean, yeah, he looked at that tier and he said, Desmond Ridder. Got to get rid of that guy.
Like straight in the lobe.
McCorkle Jones. That That doughy loser? Nope. Bryce Young?
Wow.
I can't even see him.
Bryce
That
Young,
Lilliputian
come on.
quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Don't compare me to that guy. Jesus.
What about Daniel Jones? He's going to say, "What you think I'm Cordell Stewart?" Is that
That's exactly right. All right, next tier.
Cordell
All right.
Stewart, come on.
Mystery box. He could be anything, even a franchise quarterback.
Ooh,
That tier was Will Levis and Justin Fields.
yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I feel like Will
Yeah.
Levis is still in that mystery box, and Justin Fields, it appears, has stepped out of that mystery box.
He could be anything, even a punt returner.
You got to think outside the box with Justin Fields. He's not just inside the box. Sometimes he steps outside as well. So now that we're seeing him ball out in Steelers camp and we're actually getting hyped that he's a real NFL quarterback again, I'm excited for Justin Fields in 2024.
Yeah, until he holds the ball for 11 seconds and gets sacked 6 times in a row. And then you'll be like, I'm so excited.
I mean, it's fair to be critical of Justin Fields and the quarterback that he's become, but this may be a conversation for another podcast. But we should do a list of the quarterbacks who have been most failed and ruined by organizations, because Justin Fields was. I mean, it's hard to find a worse situation that only got worse and worse and worse until they were like, they found themselves in a position to get a better quarterback.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you something.
All right.
He could have gotten drafted by Washington. I have seen so many situations worse than what Justin Fields went through.
No. Well, that's why I said we could make a list. It's hard to argue that there is anything worse than what Justin Fields experienced, but we
you
could make
just
a list.
play your number 2 overall pick on a torn ACL and continue to run him in his rookie season and end his career. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, RG3.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just for those who aren't keeping up, this is Charlie Kravitz, noted Commanders fan, who's actually not really a fan. He only hates his team. He loves his team in order to hate them.
Yeah, we're a bunch of losers. But now we have hope. We have hope.
All right, good.
Okay, next tier. He's a starting QB, but we aren't really sure why. I nailed this one.
Yeah.
Sam Howell, Kenny Pickett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr. I don't really know why.
Weren't like 3 of these guys already benched when you wrote this?
No.
No?
Old Tiny Hands and Sackmaster Sam Howell, they were out there.
Oh, man. He's being
Jimmy
sacked.
G hadn't been benched?
To be clear, we're talking
You
about
weren't in the Aiden O'Connell era?
Sam Howell was being sacked. He's not the sack master.
Whatever.
Sorry, I need to go behind the scenes here.
Okay.
In the Google Doc where Charlie put this document together, he's just highlighting names he got correct over and over again to try and hype himself up.
I am not. You should see this is a lie. And so we're gonna put the Google Doc on screen because we are 2 sections away from the thing that I got the most wrong. As we will get there.
Well, all right, we can move on from this. No notes. You nailed this one, Charlie. Good job. And to be fair,
Yeah, okay.
it's been a pretty good list. It's just so bad
So
because
far.
it's like a game has 60-some plays, and you had great grades on 58 of the plays, but there was one where you were in the red zone and you threw a pick 6 going the other way. Jordan Love, boy.
Here's the thing, though. I could go full gas bag and be like, it was theater of the mind. I was trying to be provocative, Dominique.
No. That's not what we do around here.
Theater of
Sometimes.
the mind. All right,
a
the next.
feast
I
for
love
the
when you do a
eyes
show just for
podcast,
me.
you know that.
That's right.
No one gets that reference but me.
I'm so happy that we have Bill back. This is the best part of my year. We got Bill back in on, so I'm hyped up. Okay,
The job gets easier.
next one. This is the bridge to nowhere quarterbacks. You're paying a lot to drive across this bridge, and you're going to get absolutely nowhere. Russell Wilson, Geno Smith,
Really
Baker
fitting.
Mayfield.
I feel like I'm sad that I allowed you to put Russell Wilson on this list.
Yeah, he was
Like he was not paid like a bridge quarterback. He was not viewed as a bridge quarterback. He was a disaster of a franchise quarterback, which is worse than a bridge. Like I feel like it's insulting to put him in this category.
There's 3 different guys at 3 different tiers in this category last time, right? Like Russell Wilson was making a ton of money. Geno Smith kind of in between. Baker Mayfield was not making a lot of money with the Bucs last year. If anything, I would put Baker Mayfield maybe in this category this year, but you couldn't see the future. Could you, Charlie?
apparently I could.
Well, I mean, we can't have it both
Apparently
ways.
you could.
If we're going to on him for his bad Jordan Love take, we have to give him credit for seeing the future on Baker Mayfield.
Don't worry. Let's just get to the next one.
Oh gosh, this is the one you can't wait for.
Definitely not a franchise guy, but half the league would kill for this guy. His name was the Pastronaut, Josh Dobbs.
It's great. What roster is he on right now?
Charlie, are you familiar with Tulip Mania?
No.
There was I feel like Domonique would know this as a Harvard Business School graduate. What was the story? Like the tulips got really incredibly expensive in Holland at one point, and like they were more expensive than people's houses and mortgages. It feels like you captured tulip mania, but for Vikings backup quarterback somehow.
That is, I mean, you could have called it a bubble too. Like, I mean, you have to...
Yeah, that's why you have the Harvard Business School background. You know the actual term. I just decided to go with a rambling story.
I saw the tulips in Amsterdam a couple months ago.
Oh,
they were stunning. Oh, stunning.
Was it? Never mind. Nothing. You enjoyed the tulips? They were stunning. Would they be stunning here in your current frame of mind?
I'm a big flower guy, so yeah.
Okay. Big flower guy.
Yeah.
Were they stunning for like the first time you saw them, and then the second time you saw them, they were pretty good, but not really that exciting. And then by the fifth time you saw them, you were kind of sick of them, and they kind of stunk. But you still put them in the tier of half the nations in the world would kill for these flowers.
You know what? Do you want me to dig in here? Because of the people above him on this list,
really do.
I'd still rather have Josh Dobbs than Russell Wilson, Zach Wilson, Desmond Ridder, Mac Jones, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones. Let's not disrespect. He's played more good football than those guys over the last half decade.
He's in position right now. They went and got him in San Francisco, so they clearly are not planning on paying Purdy. They are getting ready to transition. As soon as that price gets too high on Purdy, they're going straight Pastronaut.
All right, next tier. We got to speed through some of these so we can get to these rankings. But next tier is we can, and I'm saying this with air quotes, win with these guys, and that is Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, and Dak Prescott. You can win with those guys. Sure, why not? Goff's obviously the cream of the crop on that list.
You're trying to...
There's a funk to that tier that I feel like I just can't get behind any of them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a trash tier. Dak doesn't belong in that tier. That's for damn sure. He's above that tier. I don't understand what win in air quotes means. Like
you convince yourself you can win with those guys.
You can win 10 games and maybe a playoff game. I guess Jared Goff did win, 2 playoff games last year, so maybe he's an exception, but feels like you can win 10 games and maybe a playoff game against the bad team, and then that's pretty much it.
Next tier with superstar system quarterbacks. These ones are obvious. This is Tua Tagovailoa and Brock Purdy. So hard to parse who they are versus the system, et cetera, et cetera.
Some of us just wrote 8,000 words trying to figure it out. If you want to just inquire about that.
We used it for a topic on our show. we just ripped off.
Yeah, we just see what Bill Barnwell's writing about, and then we take it and make it a topic on the show. That's what everybody does.
Next one. We can probably maybe still win with these franchise guys, but we only have a year or two because they have osteoporosis. This was Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers. Pretty precious, honestly. Next one. Franchise guys we can win with. This is where my simping came out. Yeah. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and my beloved Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I feel like Anthony Richardson probably belonged in the mystery box.
Yeah, that's
right.
But
you put him there because, as you pointed out, you were just simping for your mans.
This is, I think, when I was listening to this show in November, this is where I pulled over and texted Charlie. Did Anthony Richardson's agent get you to put him in that tier, and how much did he pay you for that privilege?
That's right. Next tier. Clearly a franchise guy, but do it in the playoffs. I nailed it. Lamar Jackson.
Oof.
I mean, it's you can't push back on it. It feels insulting though for a 2-time MVP.
Clearly a Hall of Famer, but do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's a 2-time MVP. Like, yeah, it's the way that you name your lists or you name your tiers that makes it hard to impeach because it feels disrespectful to a 2-time MVP, but it also is accurate as hell.
It's not wrong.
Yeah, I know it's not wrong. I just don't like it. I don't have to like it.
It hurts. Domonique, would you would put Dak in this tier instead of where he was?
Yeah. I mean, I think Dak is more comfortable in this tier than he is in the previous tier.
Well, he's not even in the previous tier, or the tier before that, or the tier before that.
Whatever. I got lost in your tiers. He doesn't belong in a tier with Jared Goff and Kyler Murray and Kirk Cousins, in my professional opinion.
I'd rather have Kyler. What next tier is we're winning the Super Bowl because of these guys. They can stay as long as they want. And obviously this was the top tier. Mahomes probably should have tier zone. He has since entered a tier of his own. Mahomes, CJ Stroud, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. I got lost in those beautiful eyes of Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts can stay as long as he wants in this program. I don't know about the Philadelphia Eagles at this point. 'Cause this was the week before the Big Dom incident that ruined the Eagles franchise.
They were like 8-1 at this point. His MCO was still intact.
Yes, literally. They were 10-1. The Niners game was the following Sunday, the Big Dom game.
This is so perfect because
downhill from there.
They were clearly listening to this podcast. Jordan Love, it went into the motivation lobe, and Jalen Hurts, it went into the complacency lobe.
I think the most credit you deserve is a well-timed podcast. Like, there's no reason to do quarterback tiers in November. Like, I don't know why we were doing quarterback tiers in November, other than you just were like, the Spidey says, like, hey, we got to shake this NFL up. Let's do some tiers in November.
You're welcome. The script writers were really on point with this.
Prescience.
When I got that copy of the script, I was like, finally, it's my moment. You guys ready for the 2024 tiers?
Yes, we are ready for the 2024 tiers. You said that you would take Kyler over Dak. That's absurd. You also don't mean it. But anyway, do your 2024 tiers.
You can bully me into any corner, and I'll mean it.
Oh, man.
So this one is really just an honorable mention because I was just so delighted that I found that he's on an NFL roster.
Oh,
he's not a starting quarterback. This tier's one person. It's crazy that you're still in the NFL, man. Nathan Peterman.
Oh, gosh. Just mean. The Peterman. Leave the Peterman alone. He's endured enough.
The Peterman is going to get a full pension from the NFL, and Domonique is going to have to accept that because nothing makes Domonique happier than seeing players get pensions.
Right.
So
I love it. Go ahead, eat that picture,
it is
Peterman.
incredible.
What's he got to get? 3 years, 3 games?
Pension
Almost
Peterman.
there. He's got to be close.
David Sampson would cut him a game before, is what we learned.
What an awful human.
The next one is, I'd be happy if you were our backup. This tier is Sam Darnold, who's the presumptive starter in Minnesota, and the combination of Aiden O'Connell and Pro Bowler Gardner Minshew. Pro Bowler.
Oh, man. There are a few words that have lost more value than Pro Bowler.
especially quarterback, Pro Bowl quarterbacks, I feel like
Yeah.
are particularly egregious. I'm going to say this, Charlie. I don't think you would be happy if Sam Darnold was your backup, because at some point you might have to play Sam Darnold, and I don't think you'd be happy he was your backup when you had to play him.
Except for that, he'd have like 3 games where he'd rush for 5 touchdowns, and then he'd get mono and it'd be over.
Yeah. I have nothing to add to
Did you get mono multiple
Nah.
times? Aren't you one and done with mono?
I don't know,
it. Seems like it.
but the graphic of him pointing towards the camera in the Jets uniform, and it's just said out with mono. That's an all-time internet moment.
He can be, that's him. Multiple mono Sam Darnold is his new nickname.
Do you think you don't have a tiny bit of intrigue of him with KOC in Minnesota that he could play some decent football this year?
Nope. We're talking Sam Darnold?
I've been gaslit by like people who like Sam Darnold, including many people who've appeared on this show so many times, and I've been right about him so many times that I feel like I want it to keep happening. It's like just you are posting me up against a child in one-on-one. Like, yes, give me the rock. I want to see it. So yes, I'm absolutely intrigued because Sam Darnold has done this so many times, and the moment there's been any sort of adversity or any sort of pass rush or any sort of deficit, Sam Darnold has failed. So I'm not rooting for people to fail, but I am rooting for people who are so confident about Sam Darnold getting chance after chance to be wrong.
You just turned on the nerds too, because all the nerds wanted Sam Darnold to be better than Brock Purdy last year so badly in San Francisco. That was their Super Bowl, and then Brock Purdy just escaped concussion protocol, and people went back to their basement.
Is that also a graphic?
Yeah,
Escape from concussion protocol.
The next tier, one man holding back a Super Bowl roster / the last time he was good, Phillip Rivers was still in the league / what's the record what's the track record of a quarterback being 4 years removed from his last good season and regaining his ability after he's had 2 ACL tears and a shoulder reconstruction?
Goodness gracious.
That tier is Deshaun Watson alone.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want? They point to the Ravens game from last season, and that's like the thing that people hang their hat on and say Deshaun Watson could be back. Like, it's hard to imagine that he is going to be. It's too late to live up to the value of the contract, and the contract is was backloaded like most quarterback contracts. So now they're going to get into the area where they're going to have to start letting people go in order to keep Deshaun Watson, and he's still not playing well. So he's going to have to play better. But yeah, it's a perfectly named, 3 times perfectly named tier.
This man turned Joe Flacco into a national hero for a month and a half. Imagine, Charlie, if you had done the quarterback tiers a month later, Joe Flacco would have been in the Josh Dobbs spot. So I appreciate that. Joe Flacco is a national treasure, but Deshaun Watson is stealing from the Browns like it is national treasure.
Joe Flacco was so good compared to Deshaun Watson. They couldn't bring him back this season because of what it would do to the locker room.
Incredible.
Until he went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then threw pick 6.
Yeah, he dacked.
It's right in the same tier with that.
Yeah, I'm not falling for that. What's the next tier?
You set that one up. This is another 1-person tier. I made a lot more tiers this year.
Charlie got a little confident with his tiers. I feel like he really liked that you did like 6 good tiers, and now there's going to be like 17
That's
in a
right.
section.
I got this is again as I've just slowly turned my brain into Simmons brain. I just can't stop tiering things. Pop culture.
We gotta
references.
get you an antidote, is a vaccine or something.
This is Bill. This is a little peek behind the kimono, but I often pitch topics to Domonique with incredibly similar verbiage to what then pops up on Simmons' show the next day.
Terrible. It's a consistent thing that happens, and fortunately, we managed to Euro step around those things. But he has been indoctrinated. He thinks like Bill Simmons, which I guess is worked for Bill Simmons, but it ain't gonna work around here.
The GOAT Podcaster, my favorite basketball book of all time. We love you, Bill. Come on,
get to your tiers, man.
I like how you qualify with basketball book. Like, what other book is there that you're thinking of that you didn't want?
Well, I was about to say, is it my favorite book? I don't know.
Maybe. Go ahead.
Favorite basketball book? Yeah, sure, whatever. Favorite book.
Get back to the tiers.
Okay, like my brain, this next tier. Broken, but it could be fun to fix. / I really hope you don't suck as bad this year as you sucked last year, because my God, did you suck last year. / this is the 25 handicap golfer taking a mulligan in all of last year. Bryce Young.
So the Bryce Young thing is, it kind of feels like he's in a different area, but I guess you make an argument built around how everything else
could have put him lower.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like it feels like, given what we saw from him last year, and given the fact that he is a unique, kind of never been seen before as far as size and as at this position, it's pretty easy to write him off completely. So I appreciate that you left a little room for some hope for Bryce Young.
I'm still hopeful for Bryce Young, and I understand what they did this offseason. They went and got a bunch of super expensive guards because they figured, okay, if you can't see over your offensive linemen, if you're getting linemen pushed back into your lap, like, you are not going to be able to throw over them. So we better have dudes in the interior who we trust, because otherwise we are screwed. That sort of limits your value on like the rookie quarterback deal when you have to pay $20 million a year to a guard who's probably not a $20 million a year player just to be able to see the middle of the field. But like, when Trevor Lawrence had his terrible season as the first overall pick with Urban Meyer, I felt like we were really happy to write it off as just Urban Meyer sucks. And I don't see that same sort of confidence or that same sort of hope for Bryce Young relative to where we were with Lawrence before year 2 with him.
Well, it's very tough because Urban Meyer did not own the Jaguars, and David Tepper owns the Jaguars. And that doesn't seem like it's going to change. Oh, sorry, the Panthers. Apologies. And
he also doesn't own the Jaguars.
Yeah, he also does not. But Bryce Young, per PFF, 27.6 passing grade under pressure, which is the worst in the league, which makes sense for an outlier to be that small. And I've told Domonique this. I think I'm just out on historic outliers in the negative direction. Ooh. Too small, too skinny, too weak of an arm, can make up for it with X, Y, and Z. No, you can't, man. You can't change it.
This from the same guy who 15 minutes ago said that he would take Kyler Murray over Dak Prescott. Let's just remember that. Okay, moving on.
Told you I can get bullied into any position.
Not supporting Short King Summer.
So
here.
I will say I'm Kevin Clarking now, and I'm about to drop a name. I was talking to Mitchell.
How many?
Yeah, he's just. I mean,
how many other podcasters are you going to mention during this podcast?
Okay, I talked to Mitchell Schwartz about what he thought about Bryce Young, And he said that you can see a quarterback from as an offensive line perspective who loses confidence in his offensive line and his skill position players. And he thought that he saw that very quickly with Bryce Young last year. And it wasn't a reflection of the fact that he wasn't a good quarterback, but it was that he had lost confidence in everything around him. So there's the hope.
And
that
you know
can be
what?
Fixed.
Bryce Young was right. He was right to lose confidence in his offensive line and his receivers because they stunk. They were terrible. They could not separate. The coaching staff was bad and didn't fit. The offensive line was a disaster. Everything about the Panthers was terrible last year around Bryce Young. So I don't disagree with Mitchell Schwartz. He's very smart.
The problem with all that is how often do we see guys, it's very rare, guys who have a rough start to their career no matter what the reason is, bounce back and turn into something exceptional. It's not something that happens very often. So it may or may not be Bryce Young's fault, but it does feel like it's going to be really hard to turn him into the quarterback that a number one or trade it up to a number one overall quarterback should turn into.
Particularly when you're a much less athletic Doug Flutie. Next tier. This is the treading water with ankle weights on tier. Russell Wilson / Justin Fields, Derek Carr, Jacoby Brissett, and Daniel Jones. Your team is treading water with ankle weights when this is your quarterback situation. Complaints?
I mean, Jacoby Brissett is not in there because Jacoby Brissett, I think you're probably right about all of these other guys because they are brought in with the hopes of like actually improving the team and maybe getting the full-time job. But Jacoby Brissett obviously knows that he is just there to keep the spot warm and to try not to let their franchise quarterback Drake May get hurt or ruined in this his rookie year.
If I were Derek Carr, I would consider filing a lawsuit against Charlie Kravitz for being in this tier. Daniel Jones has been good for about 4 weeks of his entire career. Jacoby Brissett has been a backup for the last 2 seasons. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are so mediocre that you've combined them into one person, and I can't even argue with you because you're correct. Like, Derek Carr is a legitimate NFL quarterback. He is not a great NFL quarterback, but he was playing in an offense that was not very good in terms of their scheme last year. He was banged up. His bunch of his players were banged up. I think Derek Carr is going to sit here a year from now and be laughing at being placed in this tier.
You know what? That's fine. I'm going to get to it at the end where we can do who am I going to get roasted for the most at the end of this in 6 weeks when this is different, or 6 weeks into the NFL season. But I'm fine with giving Derek Carr his own tier, which is just treading water without ankle weights on.
Just treading water. Okay.
The next one, the good old Knicks mystery box tier. They could be anything, even a boat. This year it is Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Will Levis, and J.J. McCarthy. Yeah, some of these teams I included quarterbacks who might not start, who are top 15 picks.
You're not wrong, but that feels like a much bigger tier than the people you're putting in there.
Well, the next one is a fancy mystery box, and that's my guy Drake May.
Oh gosh! So all rookie quarterbacks don't go into the mystery box category, even though they all are somewhat mystery boxes. They don't go into the mystery box category.
They're entirely mystery boxes.
Yeah, not just a fancy mystery box.
That's right.
Okay,
we'll keep going.
What's the difference between the regular mystery box and the fancy mystery box, Charlie?
Have you seen Drake May's tools?
No. And I don't want to.
He had the most most big time throws in college football over the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited about Drake May, but I could Michael Penix not be a fancy mystery box when he was one of the best quarterbacks in college football last year?
I think I've made my point known about how I feel about quarterbacks who've torn the ACL twice and had a major shoulder injury.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. You're consistent. You're consistent on that.
The next one is are you in love or are you just comfortable? Like, I know they're not the one, but starting over would just be so much work. You'd have to move out, get a new apartment.
You don't love me. You just love the idea of me.
Yeah.
you don't have the money saved for a new security deposit.
Oh gosh.
Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
At first, I was saying Geno Smith was going to be offended by this, and then I was going to say Baker Mayfield should be offended by this, and I think that means it's fair.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about it, though.
I mean, I think the difference is Geno was coming from, it feels like what happened for Geno feels like a success story, so it feels better about what Baker, it felt like he was just plummeting and he like grabbed a branch and pulled himself up into respectable. So they do feel like different quarterbacks, but they probably are in a similar range.
Yes, exactly. If this had been done the year Geno broke out, he would be like 3 tiers higher than this.
Yeah.
But because he's been the same exact quarterback since then, Charlie is slowly dragging him down the ranks. Eventually, he's going to be, he's going to be stuck in the does not work but could be fixed section. I think next year.
I like both of them for the record. It's just that we're getting to a bunch of more of the guys now. Next tier. Definitely not a franchise guy, but half the league would kill for this guy. Josh Dobbs. I'm just kidding.
Oh gosh, leave Josh Dobbs
Doubling
alone.
down. I would have respected you for doubling down on your take. What do you mean? Just kidding. Come on.
Nah, I mean, we'll see.
Back it up.
If Purdy misses a game and Josh Dobbs steps into the Shanahan offense and is just slightly better than Sam Darnold was last year, then maybe. No, it's terrible. I tried to defend you, Charlie.
All right. Next tier. We got our guy. This is also the tier that could make us look really dumb in a few months. Jaden Daniels, Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray. Everyone feels confident that's their guy.
I mean, I think Anthony Richardson has to go back into the mystery box.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He is the fanciest mystery box.
He is the fanciest mystery box.
He is a bedazzled mystery box. No question.
He's a mystery box.
But he's still
with
a mystery
cannon
box.
arm.
I might have fantasy football brain with this. If he plays 17 weeks, he's QB1 in fantasy. It's going to be incredible.
Guess what the
Sure.
mystery is? Is he going to play 17 games? Like, that's part of the mystery.
That's right.
Part of him becoming, I think he belongs in the mystery box.
Trey Lance did not finish his lease in the extra special mystery box. Anthony Richardson is subletting from Trey Lance because Trey Lance still has a year left on his contract.
I'm shocked that Kyler Murray, like, it was just a couple years ago or just beginning of this season where we were like, are they going to try to tank to get another? That's not the behavior of a team that feels like they have their guy. That's all.
Yes.
He was good.
I agree. And you're that confident in Jaden Daniels already?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
Oh, gosh.
He was like on pace to be a 5th round pick in the draft before last year.
I wanted us to
and
pick
after
Drake May.
1 year, you are that sold on him.
I wanted us to pick Drake May.
Oh, man. I'm so happy. We're at a point where you can say that, and I'm not even annoyed by it.
No.
Oh.
Now I'm all in.
Progress.
Now I'm all in. But here's the thing. You guys think that I'm going to be roasted because Anthony Richardson's going to be lower on this list. But really, I showed restraint not putting Anthony Richardson higher in another tier.
You're still on the payroll for his agent,
I like
clearly. Anthony
Richardson, and I feel like I'm trying to pull the reins. I'm like, Charlie, slow down.
Those 2.25 games, we'll always have that in the Anthony Richardson hive.
the 2.25 games he spread over 4 actual games.
That's right.
Because he got injured in all 4 of them.
Next one, Superstar System QBs. It's the same.
Yeah.
Tua and Brock Purdy.
I don't know what that means, though, is the thing. It's like superstar system feel like they're in contradiction. These guys are superstars in their system, but how can you be a superstar and also a system guy? It doesn't exactly make sense to me. I know that neither of these guys have the biggest arm, and it's not, their highlights aren't always the most attractive, but I mean, I really like what they do with their offenses. I don't know what else they could do to get out of that system view, but feels unfair.
Now, Charlie, is the Charlie Kravitz Sportsbook open at the moment?
Sure.
Can I place a bet on Tua dropping into Are You in Love or Are You Just Comfortable by December 1st, 2024?
You're gonna have
is that available?
You're gonna have negative odds on that bet, but that bet we can take it.
I'm just learning about gambling. That means that it is likely to happen.
That's right.
That you are projecting that he is going to fall. Yeah.
Domonique has pointed this out, and Tua is like top 5 in every single statistical category. Led the league in yards, top 5 in EPA, top 5 in CPOE. It doesn't. You go down the list, and no matter what, I'm looking at him like, great job, Mike McDaniel. Great job, Tyreek Hill.
Dude.
Yeah, and
even Dolphins fans are defeated by Tua at this point. I feel like there's still some holdouts left, but like the energy that was like, Tua's going to break out, Tua's going to be good. That's not there anymore. Come on.
I think the biggest value that Tua has in that offense is his anticipation and, frankly, the faith that he has in the offense. And I think it works well with those speedy receivers. The tough thing that I have to reconcile with is we talk about how, or at least I talk a lot about how the environment and the circumstances, the context around a quarterback really is determinative of how well they will play and perform. And it's clear that the context around him at the beginning of his career was terrible. And then it got better, and he is good. If he started his career with Mike McDaniel, I think we would be thinking about him a lot differently as a number 5 overall pick who put up big numbers and really effective offense, and we would project him in a different way. If you could wrap your mind around, he's just like, he's had his development delayed, and of course, the parts of his game are not fully like advanced yet, but as he gets older in his offense, you would expect that those things would come along, right?
So you think it's because of the...
Stop describing like a baby.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's true of all quarterbacks, though, isn't it? You don't think so?
It is, but just the way you're characterizing it is.
I'm characterizing it the same way I would anybody else. Like Josh Allen to begin his career was similar to that. You could say the same thing. Yeah, where there were issues and he got better and better and better. They got pieces around him to make his life easier. Now we're at a point where Josh Allen is good enough that we don't think that you have to cater a system entirely to him. Same thing for Lamar Jackson. The only one that's different is Patrick Mahomes, but he got dropped into a team that was 13-3 the previous year. Like Dak Prescott, this is a consistent thing that happens for all the quarterbacks in football. But this time I'm arguing that maybe it was set back a little bit. It's taken a little bit more time.
So I hear you. I respect your opinion. With that said, Josh Allen has
tools,
a howitzer for a right arm.
I mean, and he's a tank.
There are receivers for the Dolphins that look like they're catching punts when Tua throws a 9 route.
Can I throw a possibility out there? Is there a even 1% chance that CJ Stroud is in this section by the end of 2024?
Wow. That is a quality throwout. It's very interesting.
CJ Stroud, who is from the same schematic style, he pops up in the exact same places Brock Purdy and Tua Tagovailoa are good at, throwing over the middle of the field, throwing off play action, throwing on early downs. Guy who did not throw the ball a ton last year, but was extremely efficient when he did so. I think CJ Stroud is better in a vacuum than either quarterback, but
I mean, the difference is
having a little bit of that.
The difference is like the tools, right? You would say that CJ Stroud has a much stronger arm than either of those guys, but I think that you could look.
Yeah.
And what else?
I was going to say more pedigree than Brock Purdy, and Tua's pedigree thing is messed up because
Tua's pedigree is
one of the best college quarterbacks I've ever seen, but he's a vastly different player post hip injury than he was beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I at this point, I'm not sure what pedigree matters. We're not breeding animals. Like, we're watching these guys play. The way that he's
that shapes the way we think about college.
Oh, yeah. I think it shapes the way we think about them. But I thought that Bill was asking a different question. How good they actually are, I'm not sure the pedigree matters as much.
It does for my tiering.
Okay.
Where my perception is.
Okay. No, I mean, I think
I'm only existing in the tiers right now.
It's an interesting question that's worth exploring. And I think he looks like a quarterback. He's tall, he's got a strong arm, and we're like, hey, that's the guy.
And he's cool as hell.
Oh, he is cool as hell. That's
one thing
you can't say about Tua or Purdy. Like, they don't come off as cool as hell.
They're nice.
I mean, Tua, the show me the money stuff was so uncomfortable, man. That was so.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I loved it. I was happy for him. I was like, pay that man. I'm happy anytime someone gets paid. But you can't. I couldn't imagine of a worse thing to say. That's the opposite of the thing that you want to say as the quarterback of a team, especially as a quarterback who a lot of the fan base believes the problem with their future is going to be that they showed him the money. But whatever. You got it. They can't have it back.
The next one. We can argue until the sun goes down about whether these guys are overrated or underrated, but hey, at least they'll put up some sweet stats for you. Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, Dak was literally second in the NFL in MVP voting last year. Like, are we as much as we like to make fun of Dak, as much as this show likes to defend Dak, I'm not sure that this is where I would put Dak. I think this is a little harsh relative to the competition.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if anything, you could put Dak in the Lamar Jackson from the previous year category, maybe, but like. I mean, I think Dak is is not comparable to these other two quarterbacks. I think Dak has had a much better career and is much more proven quarterback. And if you allowed someone to take any of these three quarterbacks, everyone's taking Dak over Cousins and Goff.
Sure.
Not Lions fans, maybe.
Sure.
Oh, gosh.
Next tier. Last year better be an aberration. This is a callback to the Bryce Young being a 25 handicap taking a mulligan year. The scratch golfer taking a mulligan. / are we sure these guys are as good as everyone says? And this is Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence.
You had Jalen Hurts in the no doubt club in November of last year.
I wasn't wrong.
They can stay as long as they want, is what you said. And now you're saying it better not have been a mistake.
I'm putting him in a tier with the best quarterback prospect in 2 generations.
Yeah, I hate this tier.
Well, do you think, or would you be more surprised if these guys are in higher tiers or lower tiers at the end of the season?
Lower. I'd be more surprised they're in lower tiers.
Lower.
I mean, I think nothing has changed for Jalen Hurts except for good things. Like, I understand that losing Jason Kelsey may be a problem, but they have legitimate replacements. What's that?
That seems like a pretty big thing. If you're talking about things that nothing got worse for
I don't think
Hurts.
I think it's significant, but I don't think it's that big because it's not as if they were not grooming a replacement. Like Howie was not surprised by this.
Oh,
been ready,
dude. In the NFL, if you just groom a replacement for somebody, they're guaranteed to be just as good as the Hall of Famer who was an All-Pro like 8 times who retired. They're just as good.
Fair criticism. The fact of the matter is they still have one of the best offensive lines in football. They still have possibly the best 2 receivers or a pair of the best receivers in football. And they have what looks like one of the top 3 running backs in football. And they've gone and gotten a grown-up offensive coordinator. Things are going to get better for him. When we saw all of these things at one place and Jalen Hurts was healthy, he was great. Like, I suspect that we're going to get back to a situation where he again is great, where you have to choose between him or Saquon Barkley on the read option, and you have to choose when you're doubling between A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And okay, maybe they take a step back from an A+ center to, at worst, a B- or C center. It's not a tackle. They're going to be all right.
I don't disagree that Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. My feelings have not changed about Jalen Hurts. My only concern is now each of the last 2 years, we've seen him break down late in the year. He actually got hurt 2 years ago, and he was playing through injuries last year. And he is a player where he is spectacular at his best. I love Jalen Hurts. I love his development. I love what a great pure passer he has become. But the Eagles also use him as a significant part of their running game, including a play where they literally grind him into the front of the defensive line. And I will say my big pet theory this year is that Saquon's going to be used on the tush push. No one else is with me on this bandwagon. I'm going to keep using it until we get to the end of the year. But are we sure Jalen Hurts is going to be healthy all year? Are we sure? Like, is that not a bigger risk for you than it is, for example, Trevor Lawrence, who did get hurt last year?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts' health is obviously a major concern. I am assuming that part of
that's the thing that scares me.
Yeah, I'm assuming that part of the Saquon edition is not just to do the tush push, but also to do a lot of other short yardage and goal line plays and to take some of the pressure off of Jalen Hurts. You can't predict injuries. I wouldn't go so far as to say that Jalen Hurts is injury prone, and there are a lot of quarterbacks on these lists that we're talking about that have actually had severe, like, season-ending and many weeks missed injuries. Jalen Hurts does not have, despite the fact that he's taken some wear and tear, his body is not like carrying around these major surgeries. So like I'm less concerned about him than I am other people.
Next tier.
No, we're not give Trevor Lawrence no discussion.
Trevor Lawrence is fascinating to me because, like, what happens if he's bad again this year?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people will argue that he was go ahead, Bill.
And then he got hurt.
Yeah. And his numbers were skewed by the fact that people didn't want to catch footballs when he threw them to him. So yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence is probably going to be better than people expect.
He could easily end up in a much higher tier by the end of the season, or like I will not know what to do if he doesn't perform again.
Yeah, I feel like both of these guys are just in like they're in the waiting room. I think we should change this tier to the waiting room because they won't be there next year.
Charlie, you never answered the question. Do you think Jalen Hurts or Trevor Lawrence are likely to be in a higher tier or a lower tier next year?
My guess is both of them will be slightly higher. Would be my guess.
Okay.
But they're appropriately ranked now.
Coward.
According to the ranking.
That's right. I mean, I can usually tell by the reactions when the tears are very off, and that one was it's okay.
I like it. I like that. I like that Charlie is like the middle school student who's trying out a new look, and then he comes to school.
Yeah.
It's like how they respond. No one said anything. It works.
That's exactly right.
I pulled it off.
It's like that time I started writing Will at the top of my homework instead of Bill for a week, and then went back and changed against it.
Thanks.
He's probably worth the headache, but he's just so weird. It's a one-person tier. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I thought we weren't doing political commentary on the show.
Yeah, that seems factual. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. He's definitely worth the headache given what they had before. I had this big argument, or not big argument. We had this debate on First Take this morning about whether it's success.
You guys talked about Aaron Rodgers on First Take?
Crazy, right? We're trying some new strategies. We did some Aaron Rodgers. We did some Cowboys too. We're seeing if we can maintain an audience when we do these obscure topics in sports. Yeah. I don't know. This is less interesting to talk about to me. Like, we can move past this unless you have something riveting to say. Like, it's all like, stay healthy, wait and see. It's been a long time since he was good. We'll find out if he's still good. But, I mean.
I wanted to rank him a lot lower, move the tier a lot lower to really get you guys going.
Yeah.
But I was talked out of it.
Good job.
That's the thing I was going to say is, like, he's really a tier ahead of Jalen Hurts. He's a tier ahead of Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy.
I haven't been accepting these as tiers, honestly. Like, I've just been accepting them as groupings. Like, these are just groupings. These aren't tiers. So this is a suggestion. You're suggesting that Aaron Rodgers is above them.
That's a suggestion.
Yeah, I don't like
for
that
this
suggestion.
season.
That's a bad suggestion.
Well, then, okay. Yeah.
Like Trevor Lawrence was good for half a year and then got hurt and was bad for half a year. Aaron Rodgers got hurt for the entire year.
I guess the question,
he was bad the year before, and he's old.
The question is, if you would take him for 1 year, would the Jets rather have either of these quarterbacks? And I think probably the answer is probably no.
So do you want me to move his tier to between the just below the superstar systems tier? So he's then between Kyler Murray and Tua?
Sure, whatever.
All right.
Get him out of my face.
It has been written. He has been moved.
Thank you. You can keep the name of the tier, which is all you actually care about.
That's right.
Yes.
All right.
That's right. All right, next tier. Hold on, as I now click around to move this tier so that in future rankings we can refer back to
We got to get the record straight. We cannot have a sloppy.
Charlie's editing this on parchment.
That's
so
right.
It's going to be locked in stone.
It's a scroll. The next tier, I call this one the Instagram model tier.
Oh, God.
They're so talented, we would risk it all. And that is Caleb Williams and Justin Herbert.
So it's a two-man tier. Yeah, these guys are great talents and the expectations are high, but it's unproven. I'm not sure if I like the name of it because I feel like Instagram model, like, we know that's gonna go poorly. Like, there's hope that these guys are gonna be like perfect all around partners. The Instagram is like here for a good time, not a long time. So I mean, I get your sentiment. They are that tantalizing, but the expectation is that they also have the substance. It's not just flash in the pan.
This is just an extra fancy mystery box, realistically.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Caleb Williams is an actual mystery box. Justin Herbert, like, people have projected him in their brains to being like a superstar, better than Jalen Hurts, better than Trevor Lawrence. He has not actually been that player at any point during his pro career so far. He could be that guy. I think he will be that guy, but like, he is still a mystery box. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. It's like a mystery trunk. It's just really nice. It's even better than a box.
Next tier. Clearly a franchise guy, but do it in the playoffs. Seriously, you got to do something. / It feels racist to have him this low. / ranking a 2-time MVP winner below a guy with 8 good games in his career / the James Harden of the NFL.
Okay.
And this is Lamar Jackson.
Any of those names are fine except for the James Harden one. Was the final one. Like, is this your proudest tier naming of all tiers?
I do like that.
Oh gosh.
I can next offseason, can we do a whole show that's just picking the James Harden of every single thing, sports and outside sports?
Yes.
Oh,
I would love to.
What's the James Harden of restaurants?
it has to be an exceptional restaurant, but not. I mean, I feel like it's obviously Cheesecake Factory, right? It's like a restaurant that
Disrespectful.
it puts up big numbers, but you can't do it you can't like take somebody there and like expect it to be a championship meal. But you know that
Unless they sponsor us. And then they
then of course they are then the Michael Jordan of restaurants. Bill trying to get us in trouble with sponsors.
All right, the next tier. Do you have anything else on Lamar? And does this feel appropriate to you guys?
It feels appropriate. Like he's very high. I guess it depends on who you still put above him, but he's very high in these tiers. And you're right. Like he's done everything that can be done twice, except for get to a conference championship game. So yeah. You're right about that. And he's old enough and deep enough in his career that I can no longer pull off. Come on, it's still too early. Like, stop putting the pressure on him. He's in his second deal now. And it just comes down to quarterback or wins on a quarterback stat and whatever, all that stuff. But yeah, he's as good as it gets. And the only thing that's keeping him from being in the conversation with the top of the guys is having those memorable, deep playoff runs.
We're recording this right as Lamar has been missing practice because of an illness. Are we also attributing that to why Lamar has not been able to win in the postseason?
No.
The tummy issues?
No, it's not tummy issues. The only time we had speculation tummy issue was not a postseason game, right?
It's true. It was a primetime game, though. Close.
I will never get over the fact that we are in a place in the NFL where I can be honest about my opinions about Lamar Jackson and other black quarterbacks. I would like to applaud you, white man. We've come a long way. There are so many black quarterbacks in football now that I don't have to pretend like Tony Banks can ball. I can go ahead and be like, nah, Tony Banks wasn't that good. Good job. Congratulations, Will and Charles.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next tier, the future. What can be unburdened by what has been. CJ Stroud and Jordan Love.
Gosh. Oh gosh.
This is an extra fancy mystery box with these two guys.
Yeah. There's no.
They played like six.
It's a mystery box
games.
with a floor though. Like it feels like they've proven. Well, at least CJ Stroud is a full season. Jordan Love has a half a season, but it was such a half a season that we all got excited.
He also just decapitated Dak Prescott in the playoffs. It's not just the half season. You just simped for Dak Prescott for the last 30 minutes. Oh, it's so unfair. He was ranked too low. This guy sent him packing in a way that was so egregious. Of like, this is a quarterback. This is not a quarterback. This is a quarterback.
I watched Joe Flacco decapitate Tom Brady in the postseason once. I don't know if that's.
We'll get to him.
Thank you, Bill. I'm sorry. I missed the UFC one-on-one Jordan Love versus Dak Prescott. Like this one-on-one matchup is absurd. Like the point is, this is still a mystery box. It's just a higher level mystery box, as we believe the floor is pretty high on both these players, and we don't know how high the ceiling is yet. Right? It's essentially what you're saying.
By the way, that game I mentioned, that game I was thinking of where Joe Flacco decapitated Tom Brady, Joe Flacco was 4 of 10 for 34 yards with an interception.
Don't let the facts get in the way.
Still got that dub, though. Still got that dub.
Facts matter. The next one is old AF, but his bones could turn into dust at any moment. But we can still win with you. And this tier is Matt Stafford and 5 games of Joe Flacco. Stafford was unbelievable last year. Like, didn't you think that this guy can great. Like in the right situation, you could still win a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford?
So Aaron Rodgers isn't in this because he got demoted out of this category because they were in a similar category before last year, right?
Yeah, last year in the same tier.
But it's because his ligaments actually turned into dust. Yeah. So we had to bump him out of this. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the Joe Flacco joke. That's all I got for you on that tier. There's no disagreement for the Matt Stafford. Yeah, he still is incredible. That man threw a no-look pass at the biggest play of his career. That was amazing. I will forever be a fan.
And he did it to a receiver who, according to Domonique Foxworth, is not a legit number 1 receiver. Even more impressive, he did it with trying to prop up Cooper Kupp as the best player on his team.
I was wrong. Now I'm right. Cooper Kupp, legitimate number one receiver. See how easy that was,
Now
guys?
Cooper Kupp's ankle bones are dust.
Now he's number 2 to Puka.
Are we going to
Pook.
get a Joe Flacco appearance this year? And is he going to be anywhere near as good as he was with the Browns last year?
I'm not anticipating a Joe Flacco run. Call me crazy.
You don't think like week 6, the Browns are 2-3? Deshaun Watson just threw 5 picks in a game. There's not Flacco chance in Cleveland.
Oh, there
to
will
get
be.
on the phone and trade for him.
There will be. But you know who's not going to get on the phone and bring him in? Cleveland. I don't see Joe Flacco having that run this year. And I'm confused at how you guys are looking at me like I'm the crazy one because I don't think Joe Flacco's going to have a 5-game run this year. That's not nuts.
The next one. This is the remember Barkley, Malone, Ewing. There's no shame in being shut out by MJ. This tier is Joe Burrow and Josh Allen.
It's a very high tier. Lamar Jackson's not in this tier because he hasn't had the success to get closer, I'm assuming.
He hasn't
It's
played
like-
well in those games.
Right, I know, but I mean,
We're not.
those were the game he got knocked out by Jordan. But I guess I'll take your point.
Given that Charlie is now pitting quarterbacks in one-on-one mano-a-mano battle, are we not giving Joe Burrow credit for
Yeah, he
beating
did.
Patrick Mahomes a couple years ago?
He's in a great tier.
Yeah, he did beat him. He got there in his one-on-one matchup despite trying to throw a game-losing interception. And then he was one play away from winning the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think if you're trying to divide it up, then maybe he should be ahead of Allen if it's only based on how deep you got in the playoffs.
Oh, I didn't have him like ahead or below. They're just a group
No.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel like you put them in the same group means that they are on the same tier.
Yeah.
But
You know, quarterback play is not mano a mano, and
now it's
Josh
not.
Allen
Now it's not.
was not on defense with 13 seconds
Oh,
left
God.
in that game.
now it's not. I love
Should
it.
have been.
I love it.
Should have been. Would have been better.
Look, I had to learn something from football genius Domonique Foxworth that Josh Allen did not play defense in that game, and I learned. The last tier is I'm just chasing Tom Brady and it's Patrick Mahomes. Qualms with this tier.
I do have qualms with this tier.
Oh, really?
My
Okay.
qualm is that you spent all this effort making these creative names for all these other tiers. Then we get to the top tier and your name is just boring. I'm chasing Tom Brady. Like, it feels like there are obvious options there. Ghostbusters tier, like he's only fighting ghosts. Like that's
The Kermit tier.
Kermit tier, the Master Muppet. It didn't seem like he really liked that. I don't think we want to get on Patrick Mahomes from bad side.
No, we love Patrick. We just call him Patrick. We get so Dominique gets so excited. He just whinnies the first name Patrick halfway through the season after he plays well.
Oh, because it's amazing. Well, last season he didn't play all that well until the playoffs. But yeah, he's amazing. And his mom said, "Don't call him Pat." You remember when Louis Riddick got reprimanded on Twitter
It's true.
by Patrick's mom. Sorry.
Not gonna comment. I feel like this is the one improvement you made this year, Charlie. Last year or last November, you had Patrick Mahomes in the same tier with CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts, who you've now abandoned, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. And very clearly, Patrick Mahomes is in a tier 1 of 1 and has been for me for several years.
And he's a positive regression candidate in the regular season this year.
Absolutely.
He's not going to have the worst wide receiving core in the history of the National Football League this year?
Yeah, one of my I put myself in sometimes I want to see how good my first take arguing skills are. So I was on with Dan and I said that Derrick Henry is going to make the Ravens the best offense in football next year, and Dan said Patrick Mahomes is going to have the best offense in football. And I was like, let me see how I can finagle this. Let me see how I can figure out a way to say I'm more concerned about Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson than I am about Patrick Mahomes and the fastest human being to ever put on a helmet and shoulder pads and Xavier Worthy.
And MVS is gone.
Yeah, MVS is gone, and they got Hollywood on the other side. Kelsey's there. They got a good offensive line. They got questions at tackle, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
You guys didn't see the play where they had 3 laterals and 2 of them were to Kadarius Toney on the same play?
I saw that play.
In preseason?
I might be back in on Kadarius Toney, the running back.
Kadarius Toney is very tantalizing, but I think we are out of time. That's enough tier talk for Charlie. You can go have a cigarette or something.
Didn't manage the clock well.
No, we did not.
Drop Charlie a tier.
Yeah, I feel like Charlie got too excited. He's responsible for the clock and he's too excited. But anyway, thank you, Bill. You're the best. Appreciate it, Charlie. Thanks to all the great producers. I love you, Podville, and we're out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.